The basement smelled like damp concrete and regret, the kind that clings to your skin long after you've left the room. I was 11, sitting cross-legged on the shag carpet, the Monopoly board spread out like a battlefield between us. My mother's laugh was sharp, slicing through the hum of the old radiator. "Suck it, darling," she whispered, her breath hot against my ear, her hand guiding mine to places no mother should. I froze, the dice slipping from my fingers, tumbling across the board. My brothers were upstairs, their shouts muffled by the floorboards, oblivious to the game we were really playing. That was the night I learned family game nights weren't about winning or losing. They were about surviving her. It's 2025 now, and I'm sitting in my rocking chair, the one your grandpa carved before his hands shook too much to hold a chisel. The living room is quiet, save for the ticking of the clock on the mantel. I'm telling you this, my sweet grandchildren, because secrets don't stay buried forever. They claw their way out, like roots cracking through stone. I'm 82, and my bones ache with the weight of what I've carried. But you deserve to know who I was, who your great-grandmother was, and why I've spent my life trying to stitch our family back together. Back in that basement, 1954, the air was thick with cigarette smoke and the sour tang of cheap wine. The light bulb flickered above us, casting shadows that danced like ghosts on the cinder block walls. My mother, Evelyn, was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at, red lipstick smeared like a wound, eyes glassy from whatever she'd poured into her glass. Family game nights were her stage, and we were her unwilling actors. My brothers, Tommy and Paul, were too busy wrestling over fake money to notice her slip away from the table, pulling me with her to the corner where the shadows were thickest. "It's our little secret," she'd say, her voice syrupy, her fingers cold as they pressed against my skin. I wanted to scream, but my throat locked tight, like a door bolted shut. "Do you love me, Clara?" she asked that night, her words slurring as she leaned closer. Her perfume stung my nose, lilac and something bitter, like regret. I nodded, because what else could I do? I was 11, and she was my mother. Love was supposed to be enough, wasn't it? "Then show me," she said, her hand guiding mine again, her breath ragged. I remember the Monopoly pieces scattered on the floor, little greenhouses, a silver dog, a top hat, small, innocent things that felt like betrayals because they couldn't save me. I hear your voices now, my darlings, asking why I didn't run, why I didn't tell. You're sitting there, maybe on the couch across from me, your eyes wide, your hands fidgeting. I see your mother, my daughter, in the way you tilt your heads, the way you listen, and it breaks my heart to know you'll carry this story too. But back then, I didn't have the words. Shame is a gag, and fear is a chain. I was a child, and the world told me mothers were sacred. Who would believe me? My father was gone, dead in a factory accident when I was 6. My brothers were too young, too caught up in their own world. And the neighbors? They saw Evelyn's perfect curls and Sunday potlucks and thought she was a saint. That night, after she'd had her fill, she stood up, smoothed her skirt, and laughed. "You're such a good girl, Clara," she said, tossing the dice back onto the board. "Your turn." I stared at the game, my hands trembling, my stomach twisting like I'd swallowed glass. "Upstairs," Tommy shouted about landing on boardwalk, and Paul laughed, oblivious. I wanted to be them. I wanted to be anywhere but there. The memory of that basement still creeps into my dreams, even now. The creak of the stairs, the flicker of that damn light bulb, the way her voice sounded both soft and cruel. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand the cost of silence. My mother, Evelyn, had taken to locking the basement door as if that could keep her sins from spilling out. I'd catch her watching me, her eyes sharp, like she was measuring how much I'd say, how much I'd dare. My brothers, Tommy and Paul, were 13 and 15, still caught up in their boyish world of comic books and stickball. They didn't notice my belly growing, or if they did, they didn't know what it meant. I envied their ignorance. The conflict came in May when the school principal called me to his office. The room smelled of stale coffee and pencil shavings, and the clock on his desk ticked like a heartbeat. Mr. Hargrove was a stern man, all angles and gray hair, but his voice softened when he spoke. "Clara, you're in trouble, aren't you?" he said, his eyes flicking to my waist. I sat there, my hands twisting in my lap, my dress too tight across my stomach. The shame burned my cheeks, but I couldn't speak. He leaned forward, his chair creaking. "Who did this to you, child?" I wanted to tell him. God, I wanted to. But Evelyn's voice was in my head, her whispers from the basement, a nobody needs to know. I thought of her nails digging into my arm, the tin of condoms, the way she'd laughed like nothing was wrong. I don't know, I mumbled, staring at the floor. Mr. Hargrove sighed, heavy and tired. We'll have to send you away, Clara, for your own good. Send me away? My voice cracked, barely a whisper. The room spun, the air too thick to breathe. I could still feel the basement's cold concrete under my feet, hear the dice rolling across the Monopoly board. I wanted to scream that it was her, that my mother had done this, but fear choked me. What if they didn't believe me? What if they sent me somewhere worse? That night, I confronted her. The kitchen was dark, the only light coming from the street lamp outside, slicing through the curtains. Evelyn was at the sink scrubbing a pan, her back to me. The air smelled of grease and her lilac perfume, a sickening mix. They're sending me away, I said, my voice shaking but loud enough to make her freeze. She turned, her hands dripping soapy water, her face unreadable. Who's sending you where? She asked, her tone sharp like a blade hidden in silk. At the school. They know I'm pregnant. I stood taller, though my knees trembled. They asked who did it. Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment, I saw that fear again, the same flicker I'd seen when she found out. And what did you tell them, Clara? She stepped closer, the pan still in her hand, water pooling on the floor. Nothing, I said, my voice breaking. But I could. I could tell them everything. She laughed, a low, bitter sound that made my skin crawl. You think anyone would believe you? A silly little girl making up stories about her own mother? She set the pan down, hard, the clang echoing. You breathe a word and I'll make sure everyone knows what a liar you are. You'll lose everything, your brothers, this house, any chance at a life. I stood there, my heart pounding, my hands clenching into fists. Why did you do it? I whispered, tears burning my eyes. Oui, me. She didn't answer. Foy, me. She didn't answer. She just stared, her lips tight, her eyes cold. Then she turned back to the sink, like I hadn't said a word. That silence was worse than anything, worse than her touch, worse than the basement. It was her way of saying I didn't matter. I think about that moment now, sitting here with you. The way the street lamp light cut across her face, the way the air felt heavy with unspoken truths. I was 12, and I thought I was alone in the world. I didn't know then that silence was a choice, that it could be a weapon or a shield. I chose it as a shield to protect what little I had left, my brothers, my home, the hope that one day I'd be free. But it came at a cost. The school sent me to a home for unwed mothers, a gray brick building an hour away, surrounded by fields that smelled of hay and despair. I was there by June, my belly too big to hide. The nuns were kind but distant, their voices soft as they taught us to sew and pray. I shared a room with 3 other girls, all older, all carrying their own secrets. At night, I'd lie awake, the mattress springs digging into my back, listening to their quiet sobs. I'd touch my stomach, feeling the baby kick, and wonder who she'd be. Would she have my eyes? My fear? Or worse, Evelyn's? Clara, you okay? One of the girls, Mary, asked one night. Her voice was gentle, cutting through the dark. She was 16, with freckles and a sadness that matched mine. No, I admitted, my voice barely audible. The air smelled of starch and old wood, and the room felt too small for all our pain. I don't know how to do this. Nobody does, she said, sitting up on her cot. Her silhouette was sharp against the moonlight. But you'll figure it out. You're stronger than you think. I didn't believe her then. I felt like a cracked glass, ready to shatter. But her words stuck with me like a seed planted in hard soil. I carried them through the long days of scrubbing floors and the longer nights of wondering what would happen to me, to the baby, to the family I'd left behind. I'm looking at you now. My grandchildren, your face is so young, so full of hope. I wonder if you can feel the weight of that girl I was, the one who thought love was a trap, who thought family meant pain. I carried that baby, your aunt, because I had to, because Evelyn wouldn't let me go. But I also carried her because deep down, I wanted something good to come from all that darkness. I wanted to believe in love even when it hurt. The truth about Evelyn didn't stay buried forever. It came out years later in a way that tore our family apart and put her face in the newspapers. But that's for another night. For now, I need you to know I fought to survive, to protect that baby, to protect myself. I need you to know that love isn't just what you feel, it's what you do with the broken pieces. I'm still here, still telling you this, because I chose to keep going. And I hope, my darlings, you'll choose that too, no matter what comes. The air in this living room feels heavy now, doesn't it, my darlings? The lavender candle's gone out, leaving a faint wisp of smoke curling toward the ceiling. I'm still here in my rocking chair, the creak of it steady as my heartbeat, watching your faces, some of you looking down, some meeting my eyes with questions you're too kind to ask. It's 2025, and the weight of 60 years sits between us, but I need to keep going. Sis? You need to know how the truth clawed its way out, how it changed everything. My hands are knotted in my lap, the skin thin as paper, but they still remember the feel of that place, the home for unwed mothers, the cold sheets, the baby I carried when I was just a child myself. It was late summer 1955, and the home smelled of antiseptic and despair, like a hospital trying too hard to be a house. The fields outside were golden, buzzing with crickets, but inside, the walls were gray, the air stale. I was 13 by then, my belly heavy, my body no longer my own. My own. The nuns moved like shadows, their rosaries clicking softly as they checked on us. I'd been there 3 months, learning to fold linens, to pray for forgiveness I didn't need. My daughter, your aunt, was born in September, in a room that smelled of bleach and sweat, with a nun holding my hand and whispering, breathe, Clara, just breathe. The pain was a fire, but when I heard her cry, something in me shifted. She was mine, not Evelyn's. Mine. The conflict came when Evelyn showed up, 2 weeks later, her heels clicking on the tiled floor like a warning. I was in the nursery, cradling my baby, her tiny fingers curled around mine. She had my eyes, dark and searching, and I'd named her Grace because I needed something to believe in. Evelyn stood in the doorway, her lipstick perfect, her coat smelling of cigarette smoke and that damn lilac perfume. You're coming home, she said, not asking, not looking at Grace. This nonsense is over. You home? I said, my voice sharper than I meant. The nursery was quiet, save for the soft coos of other babies. Grace stirred in my arms, her warmth grounding me. I'm not leaving her. Evelyn's face hardened, her eyes flicking to Grace like she was an inconvenience. You can't keep her, Clara. You're a child. You think you can raise a baby? Psht, a baby. Her voice was low, cutting, the same tone she'd used in the basement. I've arranged everything. She'll go to a good family. No! The word tore out of me, loud enough to make a nun glance over. I held Grace tighter, her soft weight against my chest. She's mine. You don't get to decide. Evelyn stepped closer, her shadow falling over us. Don't be stupid, she hissed. You open your mouth about anything, and I'll make sure you never see your brothers again. You want that. You want Tommy and Paul thinking you're a liar, a slut. I flinched, the words hitting like a slap. The room felt smaller, the air thick with her perfume and my fear. I wanted to scream, to tell the nuns everything, but her threats sank into me. Tommy and Paul were all I had left of family, of something normal. I couldn't lose them. But Grace, her tiny breaths, her warmth, I couldn't lose her either. I'll go, I whispered, my voice breaking, but I'm keeping her. Evelyn laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. We'll see about that. She turned and left, her heels echoing down the hall. I sat there, rocking Grace, my tears falling onto her blanket. The nuns watched, their faces unreadable, but one of them, Sister Margaret, touched my shoulder. You're strong, Clara, she said softly. A God sees you. I didn't believe in God then, not after the basement, but her words were a lifeline. I clung to them as I packed my things, as I carried Grace onto the bus back to that house, back to Evelyn. I was 13, and I thought I could protect her, protect us. I was wrong. The years that followed were a blur of survival. Evelyn kept up her act. Perfect mother, perfect neighbor, but at home she ruled with silence and fear. I raised Grace in that house, under her shadow, hiding the truth from Tommy and Paul, from everyone. I'd catch them staring sometimes, their eyes full of questions they didn't ask. Why is Clara so quiet? Paul said once when he thought I couldn't hear. He was 16, lanky and angry, slamming doors like he could outrun whatever was wrong with our family. Tommy, younger, just shrugged. She's always been like that, he said, but I heard the doubt in his voice. I'm sitting here now, looking at you, my grandchildren, and I wonder what you see in me. An old woman, maybe, with stories too heavy for this quiet room. But I was a mother at 13, a sister trying to hold a family together, a girl carrying a secret that burned me from the inside. I kept quiet because I thought it would keep us safe. I thought if I could be good enough, strong enough, Evelyn's darkness wouldn't touch Grace or my brothers. But secrets don't protect, they poison. The twist came when I was 18 in 1960. Grace was 5, all curls and laughter, running through the backyard with a smile that broke my heart. I was working at a diner, saving every penny to get us out. One night I came home late, the house dark except for a light in the basement. My stomach dropped. I hadn't been down there since I was 12, but the smell damp concrete, cigarette smoke, hit me like a fist. I crept down the stairs, my heart pounding, and saw Evelyn with Tommy. He was 17, his face pale, her hand on his shoulder. Too close, too wrong. Stop, I said, my voice shaking but loud. Evelyn turned, her eyes wide, then narrowing. Tommy pulled away, his hands trembling. Clara, he started, but I cut him off. Get out, I told him, my voice steady now. He ran upstairs, the door slamming behind him. Evelyn stood there, her lipstick smudged, her face a mask of rage. You think you can ruin me? She spat, stepping closer. You think anyone will believe you? I don't care, I said, and for the first time I meant it. The basement smelled the same, felt the same, but I wasn't 11 anymore. I'm done protecting you. That night, I took Grace and left. I didn't know where we'd go, only that we couldn't stay. I told Tommy and Paul everything, sitting in a diner booth at 3 a.m. The coffee bitter, the air heavy with grease and truth, Paul cried. Tommy didn't speak, just stared at his hands. Why didn't you tell us? Paul asked, his voice small. I was scared, I said, my throat tight. I thought I was saving you. They didn't hate me, but they didn't forgive me either. Not then. The truth broke us apart, scattered us like Monopoly pieces across a board. No one wanted to play anymore. I'm telling you this, my darlings, because I need you to know the cost of truth, too. It's not clean or easy. It hurts, but it's the only way to break free. Free. I lost my brothers for a while, lost the family I'd fought for. But I saved Grace, and I saved myself. The world would know Evelyn's secrets soon enough, but that's for tomorrow. For now, hold my hand. Feel the strength in these old fingers. I'm here, and I'm still fighting. For you, for us, for the truth we carry together. The clock on the mantel ticks louder now, or maybe it's just that the room has gone so quiet. Your faces, my dear grandchildren, are lit by the soft glow of the lamp, and I see the weight of my stories settling into you, too. The air smells faintly of wax and the cedar chest in the corner where I keep the quilts your great-grandpa and I made. I'm 82, my hands trembling as they rest on this rocking chair, but I feel you here with me, holding this moment together. I've told you about the basement, about Grace, about the night I broke free from Evelyn's shadow. Now I need to finish it, to tell you how the truth came out, how it tore us apart and stitched us back together, and what I want you to carry forward. It was 1962, and I was 20, living in a one-room apartment with Grace, the walls thin and the air heavy with the smell of frying grease from the diner below. Grace was 7, her laughter a light that kept me going. The apartment was cramped, the linoleum sticky underfoot, but it was ours. No basement, no Evelyn. I'd cut her out of our lives after that night in 1960 when I caught her with Tommy. I'd taken Grace and left, scraping by on waitress tips and stubborn hope. But the past doesn't let go so easily. It was waiting for me, like a storm brewing just out of sight. The climax came in the spring when a knock on the door changed everything. I was folding Grace's clothes, the fabric soft and warm from the laundromat, when I heard it, sharp, insistent. I opened the door to find Tommy, 19 now, taller but hollowed out, his eyes red-rimmed. The hallway smelled of mildew and cigarette smoke, and his jacket was damp from the rain outside. Clara, he said, his voice breaking. She's gone too far. Oh, I asked, though I knew. My stomach twisted, the old fear creeping back. Mom, he said, stepping inside. He smelled of wet wool and desperation. With Paul now. I tried to stop her, but his voice cracked, and he sank onto the couch, his hands covering his face. Grace was at school, thank God, but her crayons were scattered on the table, a painful reminder of the innocence I'd fought to protect. Hacked. What do you mean with Paul? I asked, though the words tasted like ash. I could still see the basement, feel Evelyn's hands, hear her laugh. Tommy looked up, his eyes wet, and told me everything, how Evelyn had turned her attention to Paul, now 17, how she'd used the same lies, the same games. He'd found her stash of condoms again, hidden in a new tin, and something in him snapped. You went to the police, he said, his voice low. I told them everything. About her, about you, about me. He choked on the last word, and I froze, the room spinning. The air felt too thick, the hum of the radiator too loud. Tommy had broken the silence I'd kept for years, and I didn't know whether to thank him or scream. You told them? I whispered, my hands gripping the edge of the table. The wood was rough under my fingers, grounding me. What happens now? They're investigating, he said. They want to talk to you. You're to Criseur? To Paul. They believe me, Clara. His voice was raw, like he'd torn it out of himself. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I should have protected you. I wanted to hug him, to tell him it wasn't his fault, but the anger was there too. Hot, sharp, a blade I'd buried for years. Me now? I asked, my voice shaking. Why not when I was 11, Tommy, when I needed you? He flinched, his hands clenching. I was a kid too, he said. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. We sat there, the silence heavy, the rain drumming against the window. I thought of Paul, his angry door slamming, his quiet questions. I thought of Grace, safe at school but not safe from the truth that was coming. What about Paul? I asked finally. Where is he? With a neighbor, Tommy said. He's not okay. He won't talk to me. I nodded, my throat tight. The truth was out, but it wasn't freedom. Not yet. It was a storm, tearing through our family, exposing Evelyn's horror to the world. The police came the next day, their questions sharp, their notebooks filling with words I'd never dared to say. I told them about the basement, the Monopoly nights, the pregnancy. I told them about Grace, about Tommy's confession, about Paul. The officer's pen scratched against the paper, and I felt like I was peeling off my skin, layer by layer. Evelyn was arrested a week later. Newspapers called it a taboo family horror, splashing her face across the front page. The neighbors whispered, their potlucks forgotten, their eyes avoiding ours. Paul wouldn't speak to me or Tommy, carrying his own shame like a wound. Tommy stayed, helping with Grace, but the distance between us grew. We were survivors, but survival doesn't mean healing. I'm looking at you now, my grandchildren, and I see the questions in your eyes, the ones you're too gentle to ask. Why did I stay silent so long? Why didn't I fight harder? I ask myself that every day, even now, in this quiet room with its cedar chest and ticking clock. I was scared, yes, but I was also trying to hold our family together, to keep something good in the wreckage. I failed Paul, and I failed Tommy in ways I'll never forgive myself for. I saved Grace, and I built a life for her, for us. The resolution came slowly, over years. Paul left, cutting us off, but he wrote me a letter when he was 30, forgiving me, forgiving himself. Tommy stayed close, became Grace's father in all but name. Evelyn died in prison alone, her secrets laid bare. I raised Grace to be strong, to ask questions, to never let silence be her shield. She's your mother or your aunt, depending on who you are, sitting there with tears in your eyes. She's the light that came from my darkness. My final reflection, my darlings, is this. Family isn't just blood or love. It's the choices we make when the world breaks us. I chose to survive, to protect Grace, to tell the truth when it mattered most. I chose to build this life, this home, this moment with you. The basement is still in me, but so is the laughter of Grace, the forgiveness in Paul's letter, the strength in Tommy's confession. I want you to carry that strength, to know that secrets don't define you. They're just shadows. You define yourself by what you do with them. Hold my hand now. Feel the warmth of these old fingers. I'm here still telling this story because I love you. Because I want you to know that even in the darkest places, you can find light. You can choose to keep going, to build something beautiful from the broken pieces. That's my legacy to you. Not the pain, but the fight, the love, the truth.